Hello and welcome to another Captain video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and joining me to discuss the best armband candidates for Gameweek 17 is Fantasy Football Scout's Tom Freeman. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yep, good. Thanks, Joe. Lots of uncertainty around at the moment with COVID impacting games. I suppose all we can do really is just react to the info that we have at the moment. But it's safe to say there's going to be a lot of unknowns heading into this game week.
I know. There's been some shocking news. It's been so shocking that my beard fell off. So I'll have to muster through this game week beardless. Before we have a look at some of the key captaincy candidates, I understand you've got a few words to say about Fanteam.
Yeah, so there's a new game gone up on Fanteam now, which is called the World Championship of Fantasy Football. It's an absolutely massive prize pool on offer, and I believe that you can win tickets to that free entry to it on site, or you can get involved yourself by paying. But it's basically a 2 game week competition, which starts in game week 19, which I think is Boxing Day. It's basically it's essentially 2 free hit teams for game week 19 and 20, which looks quite fun actually. So I think you can win tickets on the site. So go and have a look at that.
Great stuff. Before we have a look at some of the candidates for the captaincy, just to welcome those that have joined us in the chat. Murphy, Niraj, Doi, Dale, Ryan, Colm, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. Do remember to press the like button and also to subscribe as well, those that haven't already subscribed. Thank you so much for those that said that the cleanly shaven me looks like the younger version of me, my younger brother.
Maybe I should do that for next week.
Well, my own family, when I shocked them with my lack of beard yesterday, said that I look like my dad, who is considerably older than me, as you would imagine, being my dad. Thank you, everyone, and particularly Murphy and Doi for being so complimentary. Let's move on. We're going to start with Salah, because in one of those weeks where there's so much uncertainty, who's going to play? We don't know about Liverpool Newcastle. We hope it's still on. But in a world of uncertainty, what is certain in FPL? Salah gets some returns as your captain. How many returns? We don't know, but he gets some returns. So, let's have a look. Salah got some stats last 4 game weeks. Actually shows that Jota, once again, expected goal involvement is the better option if you are a fan of expected stats. Salah is second, close behind. Then Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Mane. Especially in the context of this week with COVID, the postponement, for those that don't know, Manchester United against Brentford is off. So we're not going to talk about Ronaldo. We're not going to be talking about Tony, any of that lot. What do you think? Salah for the captaincy this week?
Well, yeah, another goal against Villa at the weekend, penalty winner. He's now returned either a goal or assist in 14 consecutive game weeks, I think it is. Overall, in all competitions, 21 goals in 22 appearances. So, yeah, it feels like a bit of a no-brainer again this week, given all the uncertainty and the fact that Ronaldo isn't in action tonight. They're up against Newcastle United, who lost 4-0 at the weekend, who seem to be persisting with this Joe Willock, John Joe Shelvey screening the back four, and it just doesn't feel like...
It's not a good screen, is it?
No, there is no screen, and it feels like he's going to have to try and address that, I think. And I'd expect to see a defensive midfielder or a proper holding midfielder come in for this one. But they've conceded more goals than any other team so far this season. They're bottom of the expected goals conceded table. I think they've just got the 1 clean sheet, and just everything points towards Salah this week, doesn't it? As per usual, really. But even more so given the fact that United game is off, because Ronaldo did, of course, edge him slightly at the weekend, albeit by a small margin.
Definitely. And there are all sorts of other rumours. We'll get to Man City options a bit later. But there are also rumours circulating. We do not know how true they are, that there could be some issues with the Man City game. But I haven't seen anything official or anything even
No.
substantial around that?
No, there's nothing from any kind of channel, official kind of outlet or news channel or anything like that at the moment. It is just a few rumours circulating, but obviously something to keep an eye on this afternoon, because everything is changing so quickly at the moment with the game. So just keep your eyes peeled on the Scout Twitter account this afternoon, and we'll update you with everything. So.
Well, let's have a look at the Whipping Boys table. This is the last 4 matches. Now, because COVID has already started striking, we've also had snow with Spurs against Burnley. So not everyone has played the same amount of matches. So I can't sort by game weeks. So I have done for the last 4 matches. These are their last 4 matches that these teams have played. So it's a bit more accurate in terms of gauging form. And that shows that the Watford defence, in terms of expected goals conceded, and indeed goals conceded, is the worst performer over their last 4. And then Leicester, in terms of expected goals conceded, are second to them, but they've actually only conceded 6. So arguably they've been marginally lucky not to concede more. And then there's Newcastle. They're sort of doing what they should be doing, really, conceding lots. Expected goals conceded around 7. They conceded 7. And then Southampton, now the Southampton defence, it could be perhaps not as bad as it looks, although it is still bad. Expected goals conceded nearly 7, but they've in fact conceded 10 there, so that could indicate that they've been marginally unlucky. So yeah, from what you were saying there, going back to it again, Salah against Newcastle, there we go, one of the worst defences.
Yeah, I think, exactly. Everything seems to be aligned. I think if you were going to look elsewhere at Liverpool, I think we need to mention Alexander-Arnold.
Okay.
Villa didn't record a shot on target at Anfield at the weekend, despite playing okay. And Eddie Howe and Newcastle, I don't think they've scored in either of their away matches under him so far, which suggests that Alexander-Arnold could be in for another big week. I think he's outscored Salah in 5 of the last 6 game weeks now. It was only at Goodison Park when Salah outscored him. I'm not the type of manager who's going to be looking at a defender. It just doesn't suit my play style, but you can't really ignore that. And I think I pulled up a stat. I think he's outscored him 56-48 over the last 6, which just tells you how well Alexander-Arnold is playing and producing consistently as well. So, I think if you did fancy moving off Salah, I'm sure there's a few people that have that thought every week. He would be probably where I was looking at.
Yeah, I mean, every week Alexander-Arnold proves himself to be the better or an outstanding captaincy shout, because he has goals, clean sheets, bonus, and assist potential, of course. But yeah, in this week of uncertainty, the captaining of a defender is maybe not for now.
it's Maverick.
It's Maverick.
Sure.
Just want to say hello to a couple more people who've just joined us in the chat. FPL Sonaldo, aka Andy, thanks for joining us. And Nobody, and that's someone called Nobody, has just joined us as well. So thank you and hello. Let's have a look at some expected goal involvement stats. Last 4 matches. So once again, not every team and every has played the same amount of matches. We can't do game week, so the last 4 matches they have played. So that's why people are looking at that and say, Calvert-Lewin, he hasn't done anything for the last 4 games. Well, no, he hasn't. This is the last 4 matches they have played. Jota's still top of it, still top of the list. Out of all players that have played the last 4 matches, Jota top, then Salah, then Ronaldo, who's of course absent this week against Brentford, then Calvert-Lewin, unavailable at the moment, Sterling, Firmino, Jorginho, Gundogan, Tielemans, Neil Maupay at Brighton. So there are some other options there in a week of uncertainty. If you want to go ultra Maverick, I think being Maverick this week is really Maverick. But out of that lot, it's the ones that intrigue me, I guess, are the City names. There's no Foden or Bernardo Silva, and they're the ones. We'll talk about Man City now, I guess. They're the ones that we're talking about and in the community. But Raheem Sterling could be the one. Raheem Sterling for the armband? What do you think against Leeds?
Well, he's playing really well, and he's starting matches. But with that, it sometimes becomes a worry. I think he's started the last 5 in the league now, playing for over 85 minutes in all of those games. So immediately with Pep, you think, well, is he due a rest? Is he due a rest? And I suppose that's the worry. But he certainly, obviously that's given a bit of a boost by the penalty at the weekend, that XGI. But yeah, he's playing well. And any player regularly starting in that Pep team in one of those wide roles, those forward roles, is going to be a good option. I think Bernardo is the kind of the form pick. He's running pretty hot right now. I think it's eight attacking returns in his last 9. Bit of a fortunate assist at the weekend, I think. Bit of a dubious penalty that I thought. But he's ticking along. Foden is still my preferred route into that City midfield. Came on as a sub at the weekend, and Pep was talking about some ongoing ankle soreness, but he looked fine to me. I think providing that game does go ahead tonight, which at the moment we expect it to, I'd expect him to start in that one. And then you've got a few other players. You've got Gundogan there.
Yeah.
I think he leads the City midfielders for XG per 90 across the season. But again, he was withdrawn at the weekend. Pep's in his press conference has said that everybody aside from Torres is fit. But you would expect De Bruyne to come back into this one tonight. And Bernardo was given that rest in the Champions League. So then where does Gundogan fit into that? So as a captain, that feels really probably a bit too risky.
Yeah, we've got a few questions in the chat around Gundogan. Lots of people own him. They're perhaps thinking of moving, switching him to perhaps another City asset. As we said at the start, we hope that the City game is going ahead, so people can have the luxury of that move. I think possibly it might be a luxury move this week to transfer Gundogan out when he could play. He could easily score well.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We're trying to predict Pep, and it isn't an easy thing to do, is it? But certainly looking at the way I expect De Bruyne to come back in, so then you're essentially looking at either one of Bernardo or Gundogan, and just given that Silva rest, I'm not expecting Gundogan to start, but that's just my thought process. There might be nothing in that. So.
Looking at some of the stats, we've got the last 4 game week stats on the screen. Looking in terms of shots on target last 4 game weeks, it's Sterling and Silva. Who've got 6 shots on target there. Gundogan with 4 just behind. In terms of chances created, it's Sterling again, 14. Gundogan is just behind with 8. Then Bernardo Silva. So what we're seeing is, the eye test says Foden. He looks the most exciting. He could be the most explosive. The stats say Sterling. But if you're looking for the surety of starts, as you've said, Silva's had a rest, albeit in Europe, so you would imagine he plays. He seems integral, as does Cancelo, who we have in the picture and is out because he's suspended. So Silva looks a safer option for the armband that we'll definitely play. Foden's the exciting one. Gundogan is not. We're not sure, and Sterling really should be the one.
Yeah, it's just that work. I mean, because when we talk about Liverpool, we talk about Salah as that main option, and then maybe Alexander-Arnold, Jota. But with City, just the volume of players we're talking about now suggests how difficult it is to pinpoint who will play. I mean, Mahrez hasn't played much recently. Does he come in this week? De Bruyne hasn't played much. This seems like the perfect game for him to come and get 60, 70 minutes under his belt for him. So and with that comes so much difficulty, because when you're picking your captaincy, your captain each week, you want to feel pretty sure that they're going to get 80 to 90 minutes, and that is the difficult thing with City. And even moving players around, like people are talking about taking Gundogan out this week, but then if he sits out this one, surely he looks better to start for the next one. So it's incredibly difficult. And if you're doing it for free, then it's one thing. But then if you're starting to get hits involved, I just think you're going to run into trouble with them. So maybe with these City players, it might just be worth riding it out and knowing that if they are benched tonight, then there's a good chance that they'll then make it at the weekend. So
there will be a lot of people with Manchester United and Brentford players in their teams. There's also there's a number of injuries at Southampton as well, who have been, he's a player. Norwich against Villa, your team. Ollie Watkins is a player I'm considering getting in. And then Norwich Pookie as well. So, I mean, there are options here, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I like Ollie Watkins as a pick. There's obviously these. Gerrard spoke yesterday in his pre-match press conference and said that a couple of first-team players had been tested positive for COVID and were now isolating. Now, the Villa social media team uploaded a training clip yesterday, which did include Buendia and Watkins in it. Now, obviously, a lot can change in 24 hours. Anything can happen. But going on that, it suggests that Watkins is going to be okay for it. He's been leading the line in the absence of Ings. Ings, I think, at least we think, is back. Mm-hmm. That has a bit of an impact on his positioning. Back against Brighton, it was Watkins went a little bit deeper, kind of in behind. Watkins, Gerrard tends to play quite narrow wingers, so they're not out really wide, but they kind of are a little bit withdrawn. I wasn't as keen him. I was at that match. I wasn't as keen on his positioning then, but it's very, very early days. To start judging him on that, and I don't think that Ings starts every game from now on in any way. So I think that he will see plenty of time up front. So Watkins is a good fixture. Norwich have improved at the back under Dean Smith. Looked pretty good against United for large periods, I thought. But if people are looking to sell Ronaldo if they need to, then I think Watkins is probably one of the better forward options.
Okay, Man City Leeds we've already covered. A lot of these we can skip through, particularly Brighton against Wolves. If any game in the history of football has 0-0 written all over it, it is a Jimenez-less Wolves against a COVID-impacted Brighton who can't score anyway.
I think even Potter touched on that in the press conference, didn't he? He said he hopes the fans are coming and realising what a good defensive team Wolves are, and he's just warming up for a goalless draw, isn't he? So they don't get on his backs again. No.
Someone may nick a goal, but I wouldn't want to captain anyone in that game. Burnley against Watford. Dennis is the top scoring FPL striker. King is the expected goal darling of Watford, although Dennis's expected stats are actually improving as well. Dennis or King for the armband, the Ultra Maverick.
Wow, it was an interesting game at the weekend, wasn't it? Because Dennis was the one who was. It did rotate a little bit, but Dennis was the one taking up more of that central role, and King found himself quite far back on that left side at times.
I had a look at the heat map of that, and bore that out definitely. Yeah,
and so was that a one-off tactical Ranieri idea, or is it something we're going to have to get used to long term? I think we can expect to see King back through the middle, but that's just a hunch that I've got. Dennis, I mean, he's just producing, isn't he? He's just, I think his XG delta's plus 2.91 over the last few weeks, which tells you how much he's how hot he's running right now.
Yeah.
But we've seen before with players that they can continue over shorter spells doing that. I think he's had a direct hand in 12 goals, which only Salah has more. So do I have enough confidence in that Watford team to captain one of their players? No, I don't. But it's kind of hard to argue against the kind of the goals and assists he's putting up at the moment, and a good option for your FPL teams for sure.
Thank you, because I've just got him in my side.
Okay.
Another sort of pro and a con for Dennis, and indeed for the captaincy consideration or vice captaincy, if you think that somehow the Liverpool game might be off, is that Dennis is in the long list of 40 squad for the Nigeria squad for AFCON. But Nigeria have a new coach, or at least have sacked the old coach, who Dennis wasn't in favour with. So he could be playing for a place to play for his country. Could be. And that, as we've seen, can be a big motivating factor for players. On the downside, he obviously won't be available in the Premier League in January if that does happen. So the better he plays, the worse his chances in January, but more points in December, hopefully.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a short-term move, but at the moment, with all of the COVID kind of going around and stuff, it's hard to look that far ahead, isn't it? I'm just kind of focusing on getting 11 out this week. But definitely a consideration for people bringing him in.
Yeah. Crystal Palace against Southampton. My vice-captain is Gallagher at the moment.
Yeah.
Southampton have barely got any strikers left. Armstrong, Adams, Brozier, all look like they're definitely out. Che Adams is definitely out, and meanwhile Gallagher is once again playing more attacking. You spotted that when you were writing about the games? Gallagher is sort of back up frontish, is he?
Well, he'd had a quiet few weeks running into that game at the weekend, hadn't he? I think Schlupp had come into the team and was maybe a little bit more advanced when he was in, and then there's all of those conversations going on about the impact of Milivojevic as well. But this weekend, Vieira tried out this new three-man midfield with Kouyaté and Will Hughes, and then, of course, Gallagher. And it just seemed to kind of set him free. Just had a lot of licence. He was a lot further forward. He had 7 shots on the weekend. No player had more shots than him at the weekend. And he was just so involved. He looked so hungry. Those late runs into the box, which so effective. And suddenly, from a week ago, I saw people sell him last week because of what they'd seen in the previous weeks running up to that. And now suddenly he looks like, probably alongside Bowen, probably one of the very best mid-price options in the game. And this Southampton game, you spoke about it then. I mean, how much attacking threat are they going to be able to offer with those players out? Probably Redmond and Teller, maybe even Shane Long up front. Who knows?
Walcott, even.
Yeah, we don't know, but it's going to be. You can see Palace having a lot of possession in that game. Gallagher looks like definitely one of the very best options this week for the midfielders. And going back to your point about the vice, it's definitely advisable to captain players from different games. Ideally, you would probably captain somebody from the 2 fixtures tonight, just because we're closer to them. But that won't be possible for everybody. So if you're looking at options for tomorrow, and we're looking through that list now, do you know what? Gallagher from tomorrow night is probably my pick of those options. Then. So.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why people are, sometimes we get comments saying, it's just Salah, just end it. But this is why we're talking about some of the other matches, because the vice-captain could be crucial.
It could be, yeah, definitely.
Now, Arsenal against West Ham, there was a statement out from Arsenal just a few minutes ago, actually, saying that Aubameyang has been stripped of the captaincy over a disciplinary breach. I'm not sure what that was about. All sorts of rumours.
He was late coming back, I think, wasn't he? I think he was...
happened before, wasn't it, with him?
Yeah, and I think that's why. I think that he was allowed to travel. I think it might have been, I don't want to say where to, actually. I'm not totally sure, but he was allowed to travel. And then I think he turned up late again. Like you say, it's not the first time, and so you do it the second time, and it's difficult to keep him as captaincy with Arteta trying to implement some kind of strict guidelines and rules at the moment.
And they've also said that he will not be selected for this West Ham game. So he's definitely out. So that would mean that we're looking at the same old Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, Lacazette. And West Ham, Bowen, Antonio, it just hasn't shown that form just yet. So for the captaincy, so for this one, if you were minded to captain someone, I guess Lacazette for the ultimate maverick.
Yeah, it feels like a tough game, this. I mean, you're talking about 2 pretty good teams. So I think it wasn't a fixture which immediately jumped out to me, because it feels very hard to predict this one. And Antonio is going through I thought Antonio, he really impressed me against Chelsea. Yeah. And then just at the weekend, he just didn't seem to quite get going. And it feels like he really needs a goal now just to get that confidence flowing again and give him a bit of a lift, because I don't think he's scored since game week 9 now. It's been a pretty rough patch.
I think with West Ham, I think they could be one of those teams that perform better against bigger sides that have more possession. Maybe. They are quick on the break. They can do well from set pieces. But when they've got possession, they're not using it.
Yeah, that leads itself to Bowen then, doesn't it? You talk about set piece seizes on some corners. You talk about that counter-attacking game. He's often the furthest player forward for West Ham anyway on that kind of right channel. So, yeah, good option. And the fixtures to follow for West Ham, I know we're talking about game week 17, but the fixtures to follow are so good for them. So I think that's why I said earlier, like Gallagher and Bowen, they feel like the best picks in that category at the moment.
Yeah. So options there. Leicester against Spurs. Spurs decimated by COVID. We don't know. I think it was rumoured to be Son, Davis. I don't think Harry Kane was affected, but I don't think anyone's going to go there for the armband. And then same with Leicester. Vardy is not, rotation risk. it's Tielemans or Maddison really would be your ideal ones. But yeah, it's just I don't think there's anyone to captain here apart from Maddison.
No, I mean, Rodgers did come out after the game the other day and suggested that if the game goes ahead this week, that Vardy would be, I think he said he would be fresh and ready to go. Okay. So that kind of suggests that he probably would get a start. Okay. But we don't know. We don't know about that fixture at the moment. I think there is a press conference scheduled for tomorrow, which is encouraging that at least they're talking about that, but we're in the dark with that one really at the moment, which we probably still will be come deadline. So probably best to look elsewhere.
And obviously these matches on Thursday as well. And you brought up that great bit of insight there. In that the further this week goes on, the further terrible news might occur.
Yeah.
We might be minded to vice captain someone perhaps tonight or Wednesday.
Yeah.
So Thursday, we've already covered Liverpool, Newcastle. I say Liverpool and Newcastle options. Liverpool options against Newcastle. Chelsea and Everton the only other ones. Lukaku should be starting this one, but just the price tag really. There's nothing else appeals to me to captain him.
Oh, you cut out then, Joe. Sorry.
I was talking about Chelsea against Everton.
Yeah, sorry, you did cut out there.
So yeah,
okay. So
Chelsea against Everton.
Lukaku. I mean, he was benched again at the weekend, wasn't he? Had a real limited cameo off the bench. Feels again like a good game to start him, but where is he up to with his fitness? Is he capable of playing 75, 80 minutes? Or is he going to be withdrawn a bit earlier? I mean, I did have a look at Lukaku as a Ronaldo owner and thinking, would that be a switch I'd look at? I don't think I'm too keen on it, to be honest. So I think at Chelsea, you're probably looking at Mason Mount, aren't you? Aside from that, you've got your wing backs, but the defence isn't exactly at the top level at the moment, and that would be a concern.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's another week. Salah, there are other options, and it does pay to have a good vice captain in hand. There are some other good options. We have mentioned quite a few. For myself, it's Gallagher. For everyone else, we've got lots of other content that's already come out for this week ahead of Gameweek 17. Obviously, we've got the articles coming out. We've got updates on our Twitter feed. So do keep an eye on Fantasy Football Scout for the articles. They're coming out, especially the team news. So we can get as much information as we can ahead of tonight's deadline, which has been put back quarter of an hour because the Brentford and Manchester United game is not on. But in the meantime, thanks for everyone that's joined us. And Tom, thanks so much for joining me. It's a tough week, but good luck with the captaincy decision. Until next time.
Cheers, Joe. See you soon.